Hello, I am Ben Hicks. This is my AS Media Foundation portfolio evaluation. For my coursework, I decided to create a pop magazine aimed at 15 to 24-year-old male and female aspirers and adventurers in social grades B to E. I settled on this demographic and genre after conducting my initial primary and secondary audience research, as I found out that it was this demographic who would be most likely to purchase a magazine, and that pop was potentially the most profitable genre as it has mainstream appeal. My secondary research into existing pop magazines also showed me that most of the magazines on the market pitched at 8 to 13-year-olds and did not cover the diverse range of popular music that mainstream audiences aged 15 to 24 years listen to. This showed me that there was a gap in the market for a British pop music magazine for older pop fans. To make sure I attracted and represented this group, I did primary research using SurveyMonkey to find out what media language and what content my audience would want to see on my product, because as Furious, Hall and Holmes wrote in 1998, any media text is created for a particular audience and will usually appeal to this particular target audience. Firstly, I did secondary research into what aspirers and explorers would look for in a magazine and found that they value the image and appearance of a product and are drawn to attractive packaging. I felt this could fit very easily with the pop genre, as the music industry is also about image and branding. Next, I did another primary research SurveyMonkey to find out what colours, images and bands would represent the needs of my target audience who fitted into the psychological categories of aspirers and explorers. I learnt that they did not want bright primary colours pop often associates with. They wanted colours more appropriate to their social class, age and lifestyle, or else they would be embarrassed to be seen with the product. They wanted a colour palette that looks cool, trendy and slightly rebellious yet fun, which fits Oscarby's 1998 theory and Hall's 1904 theories of youth representation. They wanted the magazine to represent their needs for entertainment, socialisation and information that link to Blummer and Katz's 1973 theory. They wanted to read about a range of artists that represented different age groups and genders, not artists like Jessie J and One Direction that appeal to younger teens. The explorers in my target audience wanted to see energy in the magazine, associated with new brands and the genre. In other words, they want the magazine to cover the latest brands, artists, gigs and festivals. I thought this is right for my product, as I want it to have a fresh and energetic feel that fits the associations of youth and promotes new bands. The range of article styles, gossipy features, Q&A and informative reviews written in language that fits their age and lifestyle. They also said they wanted celebrity stories written in ways that allow them to connect and relate to the stars. My audience wanted the content to reflect their nationality. They wanted the magazine to represent straight, bi, gay and transgender people. They wanted mise-en-scene that represented their style and lifestyle. After I learned what my target audience wanted, I did secondary research into existing products like Billboard, Top of the Pops and We Love Pop, along with some rock, indie and hip-hop magazines, as these genres are now sometimes part of a pop music culture. To learn about professional genre conventions, then use my primary and secondary research knowledge to plough my cover, content and double page spread. Image and Lexis choices are far more sophisticated. My cover does, however, follow the typical layout genre conventions of magazines with an older target audience. like Billboard, NME and XXL, as I have used a masthead across the top, have a main image and cover lines. I think this layout represents my audience as it works for these established, successful magazines that have a similar target audience. It is an effective layout that draws my target audience in by showing them this magazine is more grown up than other pop publications. I have to some degree also followed some of the typical colour palette conventions you would associate a pop music magazine with, as I've used a bright turquoise colour for my masthead, and I've used white, two colours even the teenage pop magazines used frequently. However, I have not used other bright colours, sticking instead to greys. I have ensured my magazine represents older readers who want a more sophisticated, less immature colour palette that represents them as rebellious and depressed, which fits into with Stanley Hall's 1904 stereotypes of youth. This breaks pop genre conventions slightly and is more like indie magazine colour conventions. Overall, I like the blend of colours my front cover's background offers. I got this colour palette idea from a Billboard cover featuring Lady Gaga. I like the dark background colours used, which was also in a gradient effect, something which I was initially intending to have for my background. I also like the contrast of colours between the background and the turquoise colour of my masthead. I believe this made my front cover look very professional and represents youth as what could be called trouble and fun, as the dark colours connote trouble and the bright colours connote fun. I kept this colour palette the same for my content and double page spread, as it represents my audience and because I wanted my products to look similar to create a brand image my target audience would find appealing and appropriate for their needs. My imagery does not fit pop music magazine conventions, as pop magazines usually have bright images of bands and different artists, whereby I have chosen a more indie looking main image. A mid-shot of one artist using moody lighting to represent my older, more rebellious audience. The simple composition of my model and mise-en-scene choices allows the representation of sexuality to be unknown for my target audience. This links to Medhurst's 1998 theory, claims that sexuality cannot be identified by representation claims. He argues that in the real world you cannot see sexuality. This also links in with Dyer's 1993 theory, when he argued how we are seen determines in part how we are treated, how we treat others, and how we see them, and that seeing comes from representations. The understated fashion goes against pop music conventions, but fits the needs of my target audience who wanted to see stars dressed in fashions they themselves could access and relate to. I decided to break pop music magazine conventions by not adding any other images, as I believed just having one image looked very professional and sleek on my front page. This also allowed me to create a more streamlined layout that involved the cover lines going around the main image without disrupting it. For my front cover, I have used a simple but modern style of text which I got from the Urban Font website. I initially looked up pop magazine typography styles but dismissed them as too immature for my target audience. The fonts I have chosen are more simpler to indie magazines like Billboard and MNE, who I feel use very simple fonts for their teasers and masthead, which allows their front covers to have a seemingly professional feel. My fonts are gender neutral, modern and rebellious, and I think this fits my magazine and target audience as it creates a professional, trendy and sophisticated style that is right for both genders. My masthead follows conventions, as I called my magazine Amplify. This follows conventions because it is a word that connotes loud sound. This connotes that the genre and rebellion as teenagers often play music loudly, therefore this masthead represents their needs and fits genre conventions. I also made my cover follow professional magazine conventions by including a barcode, price, issue number and web address. My contents pages layout links to existing media products that are age and style appropriate for my target audience like Vibe, Billboard and MME, but does not follow classic pop genre layout conventions, as I thought these looked too trashy and immature for my audience. What I liked about the Vibe, Billboard and MME contents page layouts was the simplicity and stylish nature of them, as they use space cleverly to make the page look interested and professional. I replicated these styles by keeping my content in order columns in appropriate font sizes. By having the word content and by using one main image that fitted with the design. Overall, I think my layout looks professional and simplistic, which fits the needs of my target audience who want to be drawn into stories, not overwhelmed by an immature layout. As I said earlier, the colour palette on my contents page follows the colour palette on my cover. This follows real magazine conventions, as all the products I looked at use a similar colour palette throughout the issue. My use of imagery follows conventions of magazines like Source, XXL and Vibe, as I have used only one main image, a medium shot of a star my audience could relate to, as opposed to lots of images that you would see on most pop magazines. I chose to do this as I thought the simple style of the image allowed me to keep the page simple and professional without overloading the page with unwanted information. My text follows conventions of all content pages, as I have used page numbers, headlines and teasers to show what my audience can find in my magazine. My Lexus breaks pop conventions as it is not too simple. It follows indie conventions as it is from the semantic field of the music industry, and I have used informal language to show my audience the content will be entertaining. I have given my audience what they asked for by showing a range of different types of stories and a range of artists to represent different tastes within my target audience. I believe my double page spread does effectively challenge the typical conventions you would normally expect in a pop magazine, as I have avoided bright colours, busy layouts, bright images and unsophisticated language. I broke these conventions as I wanted my magazine's double page spread to show more of a sophisticated and professional style in which my audience could connect with. I also avoided boring layout styles such like I saw in Billboard. I'm not saying that a hugely popular magazine like Billboard has created an unprofessional double page spread, but I feel this style has been done time and time again, and in my opinion gets very boring. And I wanted to offer my readers something new, so I mirrored my layout style more on the rock genre, which is a bit more rebellious and creative. Overall, I'm happy with my double page spread and I think the media language draws in and represents my target audience. Firstly, I believe the big Castellan font I've used for my double page spread main headline instantly shows that sophisticated look of an older age magazine. This font, in my opinion, isn't necessarily a common font which instantly connects to the pop music genre. However, I wanted to use a different approach to the typical fonts you typically find in pop music magazines such as Billboard, which tend to be bold and simple. This also links to my primary target audience, who are also of the older age group. I got this idea ironically from the Rolling Stones magazine featuring Adele. I liked how the headline instantly gave their double page spread a professional and deep feel, an aspect I was eager to recreate in my own way. The layout of my double page spread also is inspired by the rock genre magazines I looked at Rolling Stones, as I like the sophisticated feel to their pages, which often featured a main headline positioned professionally to complement the image in a font that matched the artist in the story. And wanted to recreate this in my work. Also admired the way the main text would be positioned formally to show the magazine article would be serious, even though the headline and image could be rebellious and entertaining. I am pleased with my overall layout, and I as I think I have created something that has a sophisticated style that is right for my audience. I have used only one main image for my double page spread. I have done this because I like the way Rolling Stone magazine often used only one image to create an effect on their double page spreads. I originally wanted to use this image from the photo shoot, however I didn't feel this image would fit the space effectively or go with the text style I wanted to.